Vietnam is one of the fastest growing for millionaires. A lot of young consumers that are getting wealthier as well.
Vietnamese will pay if they get quality. For instance, our C-class customer is now predominantly under the age of 30.
30.
Understanding that we are the #1 retailer of Mercedes-Benz in the world. Every 10 Mercedes-Benzes that are sold in the world currently, one of them is sold by our group.
You can never write the playbook for Vietnam.
We think that Vietnam has more opportunity.
People, EVs, infrastructure, dealership, what are you looking at for this year? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vietnam Innovators. I'm your host, Hal. Thank you for tuning in week and week out for this show. Without you, this show would not be possible. Today, we have the CEO of Vienam Star Automobile Limited on the program. VSA distributes a number of different brands in Vietnam, such as Mercedes-Benz and Maybach. It's such a pleasure to have you on the program here today. John, thank you. Before we introduce over to John, I'd like to talk a little bit about LSH, Lê Sinh Hong Automotive Group. They distribute in a number of different countries, such as mainland China, Taiwan, South Korea, Germany, the United Kingdom, Australia, and of course, Vietnam and a number of others. So big group. We're such a pleasure to have John, who's leading the Vietnam team here. Let's jump into it. So John, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. Appreciate the invite.
To get things started, I'd love to know how you even end up here. Off the camera, we were mentioning we've both been here for about 8 years now. I'm sure that's probably when the company that you're now leading got things really revved up in the Vietnam market. What was your journey before Vietnam, and what led you to this position and this country today?
About 8 years ago, I made a decision to pursue a career abroad. And I actually packed up my home with every intention of relocating to New Zealand. And in fact, I went to New Zealand. But the week before I left, I had a call from a headhunter that was specifically headhunting someone for LSH, the group that I'm currently with. I arrived in New Zealand. I was in New Zealand exactly a week. Flew to Hong Kong. They interviewed me in Hong Kong, and then said to me, have you really considered working in Asia? And I said, never. I don't know any Asian languages, and I would love to, but I'm not fit. And they said, you absolutely are. Where would you like to go? And they offered me a few Asian countries, I think Korea, China, Taiwan, or Vietnam, and I chose Vietnam.
Had you ever been to Vietnam?
Never.
So walk us through that process. I'm sure you did some research online, which probably at the time was not so deep.
It's the same question they asked me, and they said, why Vietnam? And I said, well, I think Vietnam is obviously, it has its own DNA, it has its own personality. There is some overlap between the dynamics of Vietnam and the country I grew up in that we have a huge disparity between the have and the have-nots. And also, being in Africa, working in a volatile environment and a volatile economy, I think gave me the necessary skills to be able to come to a market like this, which is relatively volatile, as we've experienced. Also, just the skill set. I think I could add a lot more value in a country like Vietnam than I certainly could in a place like Taiwan that is more established. Our company bought that business in 1959, and it's very much a first world country, whereas Vietnam is one of the emerging markets. So it was less of an emotional decision, more of a calculated decision coming here. And obviously I'd done my homework on the culture. I think I'd sort of, everyone has a perceived a view of Vietnam. Mine wasn't really spot on. I think I was pretty spot on about the people. I think about people's culture, I think was great. I knew nothing about the business culture, which was something I had to learn very quickly.
But well, let's touch upon that. You said, your hypothesis about the people being kind, hardworking, whatnot, I'm sure all relatively panned out. But what about the business side of things? You mentioned volatile, a bit of positive uncertainty, I guess.
Absolutely. I think if we look at just raw opportunity, I think the opportunity is endless. I think there's so much opportunity because just economies of scale. I mean, you have 100 million people living here. Vietnamese are very smart people. I think, I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's one of the most literate countries in the world. More people in Vietnam can read and write than not. Then if you're coming from Africa, you realize that that's what an important indicator that is, So, and just, I think just in general, I mean, Vietnamese people are really smart. It wasn't a case of you had to teach the unteachable. You created this opportunity to be able to teach people that are incredibly bright and smart and switched on and tech savvy. So the journey would be a lot quicker from a business perspective.
That's excellent. Thank you, John, for sharing that. And, a little context, everyone. For those of you that don't live here but are very curious about the market, Vietnam is one of the fastest growing in terms of wealth creation. I don't have exact numbers, but I believe some friends in market research could tell you better that Vietnam is one of the fastest growing for millionaires being created. And of course, you work in automobiles and luxury products, and the wealthier groups, that consumers who want to buy your product, it's a growing market here. So my next question for you is, given that you've been here for 8 years, the market has, I'm sure, like 5x during that time, if not even more. How have the people evolved in that time? Have you, how is your leadership style in terms of nurturing the next generation of automobile industry leaders been in those 8 years? Did you find those people 8 years ago very easily? Has it been an uphill battle? Now it's maybe a bit easier. Would love to hear your thoughts about that.
The first thing was needed to try with the people that we had in our team is almost unteach them, unteach them the bad habits, and replace them with good habits, which is really tough. It's like renovating a house. You can't knock it down. You've got to tear down the inside, and it's a lot more laborious. It's a lot more uncomfortable because you're still living in the house. But we kind of had a transition, over the period of time. The team that we have now is a team that pulled together. We've settled now as a team, and still a lot to learn. Myself included. I needed to unlearn the things that I thought were universal. Now, coming from the brand, I've been with this brand for most of my adult life, and I had a preconceived idea of what it should look like. Spending a little time in New Zealand, very similar, and coming to Vietnam, and it was really, really different. So I had a lot I needed to unlearn, and then my leadership style, answering that question, is I became more aware and very aware of the fact that it was about recruiting the right team. I think about having the right people, surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than yourself and people that know more about than what you know, particularly about this market. Because the science of the engineering and the building of cars happens in Germany. The science of selling cars is relatively simple. It's being able to marry the two, the science of what you do to the market that you're operating in. And that's been a big challenge for me. And it took me some time. It took me a year or two to actually take some time to realize that I needed the right conduits. I needed the right vessels, people that understood and that were prepared to grow and change.
Within these 8 years, the business, I don't know the exacts, but I'm sure have grown tremendously. How has the team size grown during that time? Day one at the office, I'm sure you vividly remember that. How big was the team at the time? I don't want to focus just on numbers too, though, but in terms of like sophistication of departments and managers, but let's start with team size. How big was it then to what it is today?
Well, actually, it wasn't any bigger than what it is now.
More efficient.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely more efficient. But coming back to the volatility, our industry has been particularly hard hurt. I mean, so when we started to get things together, we were ravaged by COVID, as was everyone. Being a sort of a retail business dealing with the public, we were one of the businesses which was heavily. I mean, we were obviously it tanked our business. And then we bounced back in 2022 was a phenomenal year. I mean, 2022 was our best year ever in the history of our company with the same amount of people. I think the hunger just to get back to work and just get things, and the market picked up, and Vietnam was a great place to be in 2022. The economy was bounced back, and then 23 was tough. So we've got marginally less people than we had now because we've had to just... We didn't restructure and retrench. And
you guys are very adaptive, very efficient.
We kind of just
now
by natural attrition, we just kind of let things play out as they were, and we've carried on, and we're still in tough times right now. I mean, now is not a great time for luxury automotive in Vietnam. I've been asked that question many times by many people, particularly the investors in Hong Kong. Our head office is in Hong Kong. And the answer to that is we know it'll get better. It's just a matter of time now,
Yeah. I mean, I imagine this is a long-term investment, so things will go up and down, and it's about the leadership thinking and direction and long-term investment. I want to switch gears a little bit about the Vietnam luxury automotive market. You mentioned, and we actually both said, it's an exciting one. A lot of young consumers that are getting wealthier as well. They're now moving at a macro level from bikes to cars, and then there's the luxury products. How have their buying habits stood out to you compared to all these other markets you've been in with the holding company? You mentioned other markets in Asia. How different is it?
We can all agree that human beings have similar traits. So, the buying habits would be relative. Well, they would all be similar, but the profile of customer is different, which would dictate that different markets would think. Our customer, for instance, our C-class customer, is now predominantly under the age of 30.
30.
Which is astounding. It's and many of our customers are first-time car owners, which is also astounding. It's not the norm from a global perspective. Our customers have certainly been, in my experience, have been more tolerant than they would be in developed markets. Tolerant of our sometimes lack of skills, where we should providing a luxury experience. Where we haven't always measured up. Just from a skills perspective. But our customers are growing very quickly, and it's something that we're working on with extreme urgency and intent.
And thank you for sharing and being so upfront about it. I think the market is so rapidly changing, and for companies, even though I'm sure the company you work with has been around for a long time, you can never write the playbook for Vietnam. It's always a lot of interesting things that happen, like the C-class customer profile, for instance. It's very fascinating, and thank you for sharing. Looking back at 2023, which was a difficult year, but I'm sure there's some bright spots to that. What have you as CEO observed as a resilient trait or a positive out of last year? And I think what you're about to share hopefully will give some inspiration for the CEOs listening, because I think everyone's had positive takeaways with that said, and out of any year. What have yours been from what has been typically a difficult year?
If you think about the world as it is, as we know it, I mean, amazing things happen after turmoil. Amazing things happen after wars. Amazing things happen after great personal strife. People pull together, teams pull together. We've been no exception. Our team has pulled together. We've had to take stock and take a hard look at ourselves. We've had to, before we've embarked on any investments, we've had to be very sure that we're doing the right things. When the market's good, it gets easier, but it gets easier for everything. And when it gets tough, it gets tougher for everything. But it creates a bond. And one thing I must comment on and say is that we live in a country that has amazing optimism. I think optimistically, without surpassing the realism of where we're at. Optimistically, Vietnamese are optimistic. They understand that it's short term, and that nothing lasts forever. And I think that just comes from, historically, Vietnam has been through really tough times, and one thing the Vietnamese are great at, we saw that after COVID, is bouncing back. They have this ability to pick up the pieces and move on. There's with very little or no resentment and no bitterness and very little memory of what happened in the past. Just let's get on with it. That's been a great lesson for last year. We've invested into invested very heavily between 22 and 23, and we have the only MAR 2020 facilities, which is the new modern luxury standard for the world.
Okay.
Only 30% of the world have MAR 2020, and we have about nearly 80% of our business, which is MAR 2020.
Sorry, what is AMR?
MAR 2020 is the new luxury digital standard for corporate identity. Not just identity, but the way we integrate with our customers,
customer experience.
Yeah, so the dealership needs to be set up in a manner that's consistent with the strategy going forward. We have the only dealership in Hanoi that's MAR 2020. We have the only dealership in Ho Chi Minh City that's MAR 2020.
Okay.
We have Ben Yung, which was the first and the biggest MAR 2020.
I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, they really are. It's something special, you know. And we're busy finalising the plans for our biggest dealership in District 7, which will be done. We break ground in July to do that facility.
Amazing.
So the positives, I work for a group which is it's a massive group. I mean, we have over 250 odd dealerships in China. We have about 30 odd dealerships in Korea, Taiwan, Australia. We own 25% of the market share in Australia with just 3 hubs. The UK, we have the biggest dealership in the UK. We got Germany. And one of the views that they take is that they always take the long-term view. You never kind of look at it. Of course, we pay attention to what's going on in the now, but they always take the long-term view, which is very encouraging for me. And they've watched China, they've watched Korea, they've watched Taiwan. So for them, Vietnam is not that new. You know, they've watched the ups and downs. They've been through the 2007 and 2008 crashes, and they've stuck it out. You know, that for me has been the real positive that's come out of the last year.
Very good. Thank you, John. I want to touch upon some of the more specific models that are on the higher end within the portfolio. You mentioned a very interesting tidbit that most customers of the C-Class are under the age of 30. That's pretty remarkable. For the models that are a bit higher end, such as the S, the EQ, AMG, and Maybach, what insights can you share about those? What kind of profiles of buyers or habits have you observed for those models? I'll
give you another stat that I think would be interesting to you, is that Maybach, as a brand, Daimler, the mothership, has a way of measuring the sales. That Vietnam, in fact, sells more Maybachs per 1,000 cars than any other country in the world.
Wow.
So our customers, our wealthy customers, because you need to be wealthy to buy the top-end vehicles. Give you a little bit of insight on that is what we call the TEVs, top-end vehicles. They attract significantly higher tax because they're not manufactured here, and it's a different customer. One thing about the Vietnamese, I'm sure you're aware of, is they're very quality conscious. You know, they Vietnamese will pay if they get quality, and so that's why we have, from a top-end vehicle perspective, we do really, really well. I mean, it's a different customer, like you say, it's a different customer. They know what they want. Invariably, they know what they want before they even come in. They've done their homework, and they'll pay. They'll pay for what they want.
You mentioned cars being manufactured here. I understand that there's a infrastructure here for Mercedes. Is it covering TEVs as well?
No.
So no. What category, just so our audience can kind of understand?
Simply, it's the C-Class, the E-Class, at the GLC. So anything on the C-Class, the C-Class platform of the GLC and C-Class. Even the C43 AMG, now locally, they want to manufacture that locally. The S-Class used to be manufactured in Vietnam, but we couldn't get to the volume. So yeah, it's just the E-Class, the C-Class, and the GLC that are manufactured in Vietnam.
Okay. What about that box car? What's it called?
The G-Class. The
G-Class. No, it's like the G-Wagon. That's what they call it, right?
So that's our iconic.
Is that a TEV as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's a G63. It's they only bring the G63 to Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's iconic, that car, been around since the 1970s.
Yeah, I see a lot of the celebrities and like music people.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and I think like that.
Yeah.
So it's a hot car. It's I've watched that car transform over the decades.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. And just to talk about those insights a little bit too, the TEVs, given that they're imported as well, is the supply fairly low? And there's these luxury brands that have like, you have to be like a member of the club, like spend a certain amount to have access to these cars. Is there a restriction on how many cars can be sent for like the Maybachs, for instance, or will demand be served as it's there? Yeah,
I think so. What we do is, because that is a pipeline that we need to fill. We have about an 8 or 9 month lead time on those cars.
Really? Wow.
Currently, we have, obviously, with the downturn in the market, we are carrying stock, but generally it takes about 8 months, and then you have to pre-order. So the kind of buyer that buying that car doesn't always like to wait. In fact, like most of us, I mean, if you want something really nice. So we kind of we speculate about what we think the market's going to do. Us as a dealer group, we put in our orders. Then the OEM puts in their order, and from Germany, and we generally get what we ask for. But a bit of a science that you need to be a little bit careful of, because if you have a downturn in the market like we've had now, those cars come regardless.
Inventory,
You've ordered them already, Right. That's kind of what's happened currently. But those cars will run out now, and then we'll sit with a shortfall. So there's some of those cars that have, traditionally have traded, like the G63, have traded on the black market in Vietnam. They get sold and then resold to dealers, and that happens all over the world. So
fascinating, very cool.
I actually found a GLS Maybach in Hanoi some time ago that had been brought in via Russia. So we found the chassis number. Some customer had brought it in himself from Russia. So it happens all over, like I said to you, it happens all over the world. When you have a short supply.
So from what I understand, Vienam Star is regional kind of distributor, big presence. They know the market very well. What would you say are the top 3 advantages that set this business apart from some of the local players, given the luxury space that you guys are in? What kind of expertise, infrastructure do you guys have that sets you guys apart? We
have local knowledge. So we've got local people, and we've got global players and massive. Understanding that we are part of a group that is the number 1 retailer of Mercedes-Benz in the world.
Yep.
I mean, every 10 Mercedes-Benzes that are sold in the world currently, one of them is sold by our group.
Wow.
So we have these markets, and we have these experts in these markets that we can tap into, which the local groups obviously don't have access to. From a brand perspective, they can tap into the brand experience, but we've got retail experts that we can tap into. We also have the backing of this massive conglomerate, which gives us great comfort. In times that are tough like now, we're still investing, we're still strategic, we're still thinking about the long-term game. And the smaller investors, not suggesting that they're less competent, but they don't have the same resources that we have access to, which makes it more difficult for them.
So John, we'd love to hear about 2 of the things that you guys are proud of. One, I believe, is about transparency, and the second is about the performance, some recent updates and statistics of how the business is doing. Love to hear your thoughts about that.
Transparency, I think, is something that, for us, a global pursuit, if you'd like to call it. I think when we talk about the customer journey, it's so important that the customer has a very clear view of what the deal comprises of, whether you're servicing your vehicle or purchasing your vehicle or just buying parts. And also, in typically emerging markets lack that a bit, so it gives us some opportunity.
Sometimes customers don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
That's the best way to put it.
Exactly.
But just being upfront about what they're getting,
correct, what
is possible.
Exactly right.
That's building trust and transparency.
Right. So. And that's part of our journey. We're proud of the fact that we believe we do that better than most.
Yep.
But we've got some way to go. Still something that we'll pursue aggressively.
Very good. And how about the performance of the business? We've touched upon it here and there. You mentioned some cool insights, such as C-class customers being a very specific age group, very unique to Vietnam. But I'd love to hear about some of the performance related to 2023. Any bright spots, and what was a difficult year?
Well, I think 2022 we did really well. We won a lot of awards, and this year the awards ceremony is tomorrow night. But I believe we've won. We did better than we did the year before, which for us was great. I think one of the awards we're particularly proud of is the marketing award. I think we managed to secure that. Best marketing. So for someone who's a foreigner, we're coming in working with my local colleague. That's something we're particularly proud of. And there's a few, there's Deal of the Year awards, and we were top of mind for those. And so it's the first time ever for our group, at least in this country. So it's something we're really proud of.
As we look ahead, it's now end of first quarter, beginning of Q2 very soon here in Vietnam. How do you assess the potential and challenges of the luxury market this year? How's it looking, basically?
Have you been talking to my office in Hong Kong?
I'm sure they're asking the same question.
Exactly the same question. That's why I said to you, have you been talking to? Yeah, it's.
I'm not trying to be your BOD here. I'm not.
Absolutely, no. Appreciate the question.
Yeah.
So our conversation with them is how we see it, and my team sees it. My team are all local professionals. My senior executive team are all locals that have been in automotive and skilled and smart guys. The general consensus, if we follow the media, we look at the trends that, quarter one was always going to be tough. It was TET.
Right.
TET, which fell in an odd time, so we had 2 weeks of TET, and February is not a great month anyway. January we came off the 50%. The automotive industry last year, for the bulk of last year, had a 50% discount on registration fees,
right.
Which, as you know, in HM is 10%, and I know it's 12%. So that's significant when you're buying a car for $100,000.
Yep.
So they stopped that in December. So January was the knock-on, was the payback for that, was the spin-off from that. February was TET, and March is a little bit of an upturn now. Q2 will be better. It won't be. We don't think it'll just be switched on again and just get back to what it was in 23. Q3, I think we'll start making up some of the pain we took in the beginning of the year, and Q4 definitely. So I think it's going to be more trendy now. It's not going to be. It's not going to be the clawback that we had after COVID. I mean, it's not going to be the rush back. It's going to be more a steady incline.
And I want to touch upon the emerging markets. That's a big area of opportunity for a lot of global companies. Vietnam is one of the largest populations in Southeast Asia. Of course, there's players that are a bit more ahead in terms of GDP per capita, such as Thailand and Malaysia. Is there more opportunity here compared to those countries, or is it pretty consistent across the board?
I think if we were taking opportunities as an opportunity, Vietnam was touted as what they call the Lucky Seven Club of, a few years ago, before we had all the downturns. The Lucky Seven Club was I think there were a handful of nations in Asia a handful of countries in the world that were forecast to have a 7% year-on-year growth, which would effectively double your economy every 10 years, if it's compounded, obviously. We think that Vietnam has more opportunity. We've been in Malaysia. We've got a big business in Malaysia. We've been there for many years. If you look at the amount of vehicles per 1,000 people, Malaysia is at a very healthy number. I think it's about 600, and ours is astoundingly low. I think it's less than 100. So you have, if you look at that, if we sort out our infrastructure, which I think the Vietnamese authorities are very focused on sorting out infrastructure. Once we get that infrastructure sorted at the growth tangent we are currently, the consequence of that can only be that our industry it'll certainly be the fastest growing in Southeast Asia and one of the fastest in the world. Taking us back to 2022, we went to Germany, and they put up on a big slide there. We looked at the overseas regions for straight after COVID. And they looked at, and there were 179 countries represented. And there were only 4 countries that were in the green, and we were one of them. So to give you an idea of how quickly and how strongly we are able to bounce back as an economy, and also just how well we are thought of and regarded by the mothership, looking at it from an opportunity perspective. Of course, a lot we need to colour in between the lines, but certainly from an opportunity, it's by far our most exciting prospect going forward.
I think at the global board of directors levels, I think 5-10 years ago when we moved here, Vietnam was not really on anyone's agenda, or was, but in a very small way. But now it's front and center for a lot of different reasons. And for that reason alone, I think there's growth, ignoring everything else, of course, too. So that's very promising. I do want to touch upon one topic that's top of mind for automobile manufacturers and executives and distributors today, which is this emergence of the electric vehicle movement. I think here in Vietnam, it's particularly heightened because of a number of factors. And I think the luxury market traditionally has not been super big in it, but it's now beefing up big time. And I think the cars that you guys distribute in particular. How have you guys thought about the EV market in Vietnam? And how do you see that market developing over the next few years?
It's a really tough question to answer, because we all have our opinions. At the end of the day, myself and the CEO of the OEM discussed it, and we've had a bit of banter about it and a laugh about it. But at the end of the day, the customer is going to decide, not the OEMs. You've seen that globally with some of the Japanese conglomerates and the Korean conglomerates.
Exactly.
Manufacturers have all said, there's been many turnarounds. People have changed strategy. From a Vietnamese perspective, I think the market is ready, but the infrastructure is not. We kind of, because we have such the average median age in Vietnam is under 31. So you have a really young tech-savvy, innovative, entrepreneurial customer base that are ready to make the transition. But the infrastructure is not here yet. So it's going to be a case of chicken and egg, which one first. There are some Chinese automotive manufacturers that are investing in Vietnam as we speak.
Right.
In the next month or two, there's a big global player coming into play. I'm sure you know which one I'm referring to. They sold more cars than Tesla did last year. So they open their doors in a couple of months. But the burning issue is going to be electric cars. If we put it simply, I'm probably not your traditional CEO, but if we put it simply, what are the kind of person that's going to buy an electric car now? Is if it's a first-time car buyer, you would imagine the person lives in an apartment, generally.
Yep.
So you live in an apartment, where would you charge your car? Where you went on holiday now to Nha Trang, for instance, where would you charge your car in Nha Trang? Unless you had a place to charge. Would you carry a mobile charger, which is going to take you 12 hours to charge the vehicle? So if you got halfway down there and your battery was low, or you got almost there and you were 100 k's away, you wouldn't be able to charge it. You'd have to charge a little bit and get so infrastructure, from a real practical perspective. So generally the people that are buying our electric vehicles now, or have access at work where they go, the place, and there's not many places that have charging facilities for vehicles. Exactly. At the office.
And I think that's why infrastructure is so top of mind.
Absolutely.
For the authorities and for companies as well. And we see the companies sometimes, just moving ahead, investing in it themselves, which is a huge investment. So,
and why the question, the burning question is, everyone's asking is, first of all, electricity is not for nothing. You got to pay for electricity. There's other things that I think many people, I haven't heard anyone discuss it. We have these massive parkades here in Vietnam, and where we have 3-4 stories of cars. Does anyone realize that these electric cars are 30% heavier than a fuel car? So if you've got 100 cars, the weight load is 10 tons. Not 100 cars, but if you've got 10 cars at 10 tons, you now got 10 cars at 13 tons. And then you've got a 5-story parkade with 30%. Have they got 30% more capacity to carry electric cars? And has anyone thought about that? Things are going to collapse. What about the heat that it generates and from the power charging? There's so many permutations. There's so much to think about and so much that we don't know. Our brand is very progressive. They've done a lot of homework. Besides being progressive, very, very aggressive in bringing the product to market. The other issue is pricing. What about pricing? Can we build that car at a price that's attractive to the consumer? If he has to choose between electric and the electric is significantly more expensive, is he that committed to electricity?
So John, my question would there be, given Mercedes, I imagine, I don't know exactly, the future, really, there's a lot of investment going in for all automobile makers. Right now, the cash and business still really is gas-powered cars at the end of the day. What would you say is some of the challenges and advantages of your guys' infrastructure to kind of balance that, future-looking perspective, but also prioritizing current needs, which is still at the end of the day, gas-powered cars? How do you as CEO balance that initiative planning versus current needs?
Like I said to you, when you asked me the question first, it's not me that's going to decide that. Regardless of what my strategy is, the customer is going to decide that.
And what do customers say in Vietnam at the moment?
Well, that's the point. The point is customers right now are telling us that they're ready to transition, but the infrastructure is not ready.
Okay.
So what we've done is to give you just to answer your question is we currently rolling. We've got chargers in all our dealerships. Our OEM has made it a dealer standard that every dealership must has a DC charger, which is the quick charge. You can charge a vehicle in under an hour. And it's mandatory that we all need to have that in every one of our locations. We've got 16 locations across the country for our brand. We all need to have that. So at every major point should be able to get access. We all have the slow chargers at least. We've got at least 2 per outlet. So we have access for our customers and for people that are driving our product. We've been progressive in that, and we made sure that before we sold a car, we put those chargers in before we even sold our first car. And now we're putting in the DC chargers, which is quite a big investment. So we see it going that way. It's just a matter of timing now, just saying, the crystal ball, looking in the crystal ball, how quickly do you think it can happen? And our customers ultimately are going to decide. You know, they're going to say, well, we'd love to. There's so many upsides to it. There's so many benefits to it. There's, you know, in our brand's opinion, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. It's about finding the sweet spot between what the customer wants and needs. Also, mustn't forget, that 50-odd thousand customers driving around Vietnam in our internal combustion engine cars, that we owe the service to them. You know, we owe to back that up until those cars have reached the end of their lifespan. You know, that's our commitment to our customer.
The infrastructure and all that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a decade-long play, I'm sure.
Very tough.
Especially in Vietnam. So, John, thank you for giving us this realistic take on EVs, everything from infrastructure to what customers actually want versus need. What is to look forward to, though, in terms of, are you guys innovating on that? You're building the infrastructure for it now. I'd love for you to share, since I'm sure a lot of our audience are looking for those EVs today.
Well, we absolutely are. I think, as I shared with you, you know, we're investing heavily into EV because certainly it's not a case of whether we're going to go in that direction or not. It's just a matter of when. And we certainly want to be ahead of the curve. So, you know, we want to be ensuring we be very proactive with that, make sure that we're always ahead of the game for that, for as long as we possibly can be.
John, please summarize for me some of the top initiatives, you know, looking ahead, that you want to focus on as CEO. Just rapid fire, 1, 2, 3. People, EVs, infrastructure, dealership. What are you looking at for this year?
This year we want to consolidate. We want to work on our skills. We want to work on our skill set. We want to work on. There's a cliche about the customer journey, but if we really are invested in that and really understand what the customer journey is, and it's ever changing. You know, one thing we need to be absolutely sure about, which I hammer on a lot, is there's not much we can be sure about. What we can be sure about is the change. There's going to be incredible change at an incredible rate. You know, we just need to make sure that we're always ahead of the curve, working on our skills. We are currently busy just upgrading our last facility that needs upgrading. Our flagship, it's the biggest dealership in Vietnam.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we kind of all set to go for the rebound of the market. And then it's going to be a case of just building on our culture. One of the questions you asked me, you preempted, was, you know, what do we work on? Work on your team, work on your culture. That's, you know, your culture needs to be consistent with the local culture. Your company culture is going to determine everything. Employ people that are smarter than you, which is a skill on its own. You know, so if you take someone like Elon Musk, I mean, he's also from South Africa, by the way. Yeah. You know, if you ever get him on your podcast, mention my name, you know.
Sure.
He's a smart guy, but he's employed some really smart people around him, you know. Steve Jobs was another good example. Bill Gates was another good example. So on a very much smaller scale. And one thing we're not short of in Vietnam is IQ. You know, we have unbelievably talented, entrepreneurial, smart people in this country, which is, it's just now a case of getting those people on board and equipping them with the appropriate skills. You know.
Very good.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting. It's a bit scary for the what's it lies ahead for the next few months, but over the next few years, I think is exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm asking you too because I have my management meeting today, so I'll raise the same point. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being on the podcast today. I always like to conclude with one final question, which is, you know a lot about automobiles. You know a lot about rugby. We talked about that off the camera just now. But I'd love to know what you'd like to know more about that you don't know like anything or very little about. That's either good for your career or your personal life. I'd love to hear what that is in your world. And I ask you this because I'll get the next guest on the show to hopefully clarify for you.
I think what's become really interesting to me is the beliefs. I think the driving belief of, when I talk about philosophically, religiously, to understand the culture. It's taken me a long time to get to where I am. And if I'd known what I know now in the beginning, it would have been a lot easier for me. Okay. And one of the things I need to understand is, it's from a personal perspective, and I guess it will spill over into the business thing, is understanding the philosophies and the religious beliefs of the Vietnamese. You know? And I mean, I think there's some common ground throughout Southeast Asia, but uniquely just understanding and coming to grips with
I think I like cultural workshops,
Yes,
like really,
yeah.
especially for leaders and people like you, like, you know, even with your experience, you still, you know, don't know a few things coming in. And I myself, even though I'm Vietnamese background, learning a few things on the go, it's been challenging. I think if there's a crash course, I don't know if there is one out there. If you are in that business, drop your comment in the link. I'm sure myself and John would love to check it out.
Yeah, cultural workshop. Be great.
Yeah, very
I'll
good.
join you.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of Vietnam Innovators. I'm your host, Hal. If you'd like to get in touch with the team at Vienam Star or John himself, we'll include links to their website and potentially his LinkedIn as well, or just give it a search. John, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and hopefully our next podcast will be about rugby or just how the business is doing. Let's see.
That'd be great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Been a privilege. Thank you.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Có những giấc mơ ấp ủ tại nơi đây, xuất phát từ sự thân thiện của con người nơi này. Những nét văn hóa được xây dựng bảo tồn qua cả ngàn năm. Chúng tôi muốn tạo ra một giá trị hữu hình, trường tồn, dung hòa giữa cổ kính và hiện đại. Những cảm xúc trên hành trình trải nghiệm vùng đất này cũng chính là nguồn cảm hứng để chúng tôi kiến tạo nên Vienam Star. Chúng tôi mong muốn sự nhiệt huyết và tình yêu Vienam Star dành cho nơi này có thể khiến mọi người cảm nhận được thông qua một trải nghiệm độc bản mang dấu ấn thượng lưu. Đó chính là những kết quả trong cuộc hành trình hiện thực hóa giấc mơ mà Vienam Star mong muốn mang đến khách hàng của mình.